Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever and wherever you are. This is Olivia, and thank you again for listening to the Greetings From podcast. In this episode of the Greetings From News Recap, myself and the other hosts talk about the Witcher TV show, Redbox giving up on video game rentals, Geoff Keighly's The Game Awards, and the Xbox Series X announcement. Let's get started! Hello everyone, it is January 12th, 2020, and my name is Olivia Quinn, and welcome to the Greetings From News Recap. I am joined by my two very good friends. On my right is a woman who carries a silver blade for monsters and a steel blade for humans, Rebecca Faye.
Fuck.
I was trying to think about how I would deliver the fuck, and thank you for doing it perfectly. Well, on my left is a man who always tosses a coin to his Witcher, Tyler Smith.
A coin for your Witcher. I don't know the rest of the lyrics of the song.
Toss a coin to your Witcher.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
valley of plenty.
Yeah.
Oh, valley of plenty.
Clearly,
Oh,
Rebecca
oh.
is the one who should have had all the Witcher references.
Y'all think
It's
I didn't
American
sit down and
series.
watch
Weber
all of
production.
it on day one?
I mean, I pretty much did, but you
Turn
know,
out for the Witcher.
yeah.
Well, this is a news show. We're going to cover a few of the largest stories from December 5th through January 5th, so let's get into it. I'm actually going to change up the order here. Let's talk about the Witcher show.
Yay!
I want to get into this.
Yay!
So the Witcher TV show came out on December 20th on Netflix. People seem to like it. I watched 2 episodes. I thought they were pretty good. Toss a coin to your Witcher is pretty popular now. The fuck meme is very far and wide.
Yep.
And Witcher 3 has jumped to the top of the charts on both PlayStation and on Steam. Rebecca, you seem like you watched the whole thing.
I did. It's very good. The whole
It
thing is
is.
good.
It is.
Okay, I don't know what happened to me. All right, let me spin you a weave here. So I don't know what happened to me because when The Witcher 3 came out, apparently I made my whole life about The Witcher and didn't realize it because I'm like, as I was watching through it, I was like, yeah, I really like this. Like, yeah, I forgot how much I really like this. And then it started to kind of unravel whatever I had compartmentalized, which was, oh shit, I have all the books and I've read all the books. Oh, this is all familiar because I've read all the books and I have a board game and I have 18 card game. And then I was like, why did I buy so much merchandise? What was happening? So anyway,
I hope in your mind you were just like, fuck. You just did the Geralt fuck in your
Yeah.
mind as you looked at your vast kingdom of Witcher nonsense.
yeah. And somehow my body possessed me and I put the Wild Hunt back in my PlayStation. So,
I picked up Wild Hunt recently,
Mhm.
and because I never actually finished it, and I keep restarting it, and so I've picked up my same save file, and I'm like, this game's pretty fucking good.
It's pretty fucking
And
good.
now, I showed Ruby the Witcher song, the toss a coin to your Witcher, and I think that got her interested in it. After I've been trying to get her to play the Witcher for years.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna try the show on her, and then I think I'm gonna make her play the games.
Yeah.
Tyler, how are you feeling about the Witcher TV show? How are you feeling about that Henry Cavill hair?
It's okay. First of all, that hair is classy, clutch. I had my reservations first of with being Henry Cavill because he's been problematic in the past, and then also just in general a video game adaptation into a TV show.
Hold on. He was problematic in the past. I need to know right now.
It's just
What
very
happened?
nervous.
What happened?
I can't remember
What
exact
happened?
specifics, but I feel like it was something with dealing with queer people. So I was just like,
No.
within a
the
queer
Henry
space.
Cavill canceller is logged on.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not gonna come for him, but I'm just so I was reserved about it. I'm just anyway. So I watched it, and I actually really enjoy Henry within this show. Very, very good Witcher, very, very good Geralt. And then the show itself is just amazing because my second reservation was a video game being adapted into some media form because we've all seen, or maybe we haven't seen, even World of Warcraft into a film, and Assassin's Creed into a film, and Persia Sands of Time into a film, Lara Croft Tomb Raider into a film, and that's they're not good. They're just not good. Lara Croft is probably the best of the bunch, maybe, but everything else is not good. But this series is the first series that is really like I don't know, it captures the essence of what The Witcher is, and I think that also it gives a chance. It's not following the video game; it's following the books, which also the video game is following, but like it's separate, different things. Anyway, I feel like it's just more in tune that in that way. So I'm actually looking forward to the second season, which I think has been confirmed.
Yep, it was.
Yeah, I think it was confirmed even before it like released, which was a pretty good sign considering that Netflix cancels everything. And I feel like having a TV show gave them a lot of room to like, hey, we're going to explore these stories, at least from the little bit that I had seen, and like kind of tell things out of order, which I think really helped it, like compared to the World of Warcraft or the Warcraft movie, which was like, we need to fit 3 games of lore into one sitting.
Correct.
And that wasn't great. So I'm happy that we got some room to breathe here. So you're back on the Witcher train, Rebecca. Tyler, are you back on this Witcher life? Or have you started playing again?
No, I have not. And the reason why is because
fuck out.
I have 150 hours of that game still left. Like I played 30 hours of that game, and there's so much more now. Like there are 2 DLCs that are both like have 30 to 50 hours each. Like hell nah, you guys. Like I don't have that kind of time. I just don't.
I don't have that kind of time either. I'm back in it though.
Well,
I'm here for the
bless
Witcher life.
your heart. I just can't do it.
I'm trying really hard not to stumble and make it into a Gwent simulator, because that's what happened last time. Is I got hung up with the too much to do, and then I turned it into pro Gwent sim, and then that was how I played the rest of that game. Was just like,
yeah, that was the
master
problem.
of Gwent.
I legitimately have been looking at like the guide to not miss any Gwent cards, because after I got burned by like Final Fantasy VIII, the Tetra or whatever the game is, where I lost all my cards, I'm like, no, I gotta get them all. I gotta make sure I fit in here, get to that Gwent tournament. Make sure I control the world here.
They did fix a bug that meant you couldn't get one early on, because there used to be one that you could miss, but they fixed it. So I'm pretty sure that now you can get all of them without fail.
Okay, I'd read somewhere that if you somehow miss the tournament or whatever, it's not possible, but I'm going to try to calm down now. Try to calm down my Gwent game a little bit.
Yeah, the tournament is hard because if you lose, you don't get the cards, but that's why safe scumming, everyone. That's why that's a thing that you do.
Correct.
Well, this was only tangentially related to video games, so I'll give everyone one last shot. Any final Witcher thoughts? Any, Rebecca, I feel like I'll leave the floor to you if you have something to say about The Witcher.
Well, the thing that I almost died laughing about was the fact that Henry Cavill does an amazing impression of game Geralt, and I was like, when he came on and I'm like, the Doug Cockle voice was coming out of him, and I was like, hold on, I have a question. And I guess apparently he had talked about this quite a bit, because he said that he played the games because he's like an avid PC gamer. And so that's just like what he does. So he was talking about, he was like, oh yeah, I don't go out, I don't like go drinking or partying or whatever, I just sit at home and I play like Warhammer 40k.
Oh my god.
Well, he played WoW, right? Like, wasn't he like noted for playing World of Warcraft? He almost missed an interview or something because he was getting too into raiding. Like,
I think so. Yeah.
Oh man.
So
that's very funny.
I could, after I heard that, that's when I was like, oh, that's why he sounds just like Game Geralt, because I guess after he got this role, then he read the books. And you can't get Doug Cockle out of a book. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
I'm glad. I hope that this like bodes well for like the future TV shows, like the Magic the Gathering TV show that they're making for Netflix. So these other game adaptions that come out, I hope this will be a good sign of what's to come. Let's go ahead and talk about one of the smaller stories. Redbox is no longer renting video games. Redbox was never a major player. I know, Rebecca, you've used the service. Tyler, have you used the service before?
I have, yes. But for renting movies, but not games. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because I only used this a few times, and then got burned a little bit because I rented Uncharted 4 and then ended up paying like $70 for it because I was like, I'll play this, and then never got to it. Yeah, it was a little bit rough, but it's still a good service for buying video game. For me, at least, it was like, okay, I want to pick up this video game for relatively cheap. I don't have to go to talk to anyone. I can just go at 3 a.m. and go buy this stupid video game from a kiosk. It was pretty cool, and it's really quite a bummer. And I think this kind of points to a larger problem in the industry that's like, hey, we're kind of switching to more of these like digital services, these subscription services, and some of these like brick and mortar, quote unquote, retailers can't really compete. Rebecca, how are you feeling about this?
I'm pretty bummed. Like, I'm really bummed. I feel like I was a little late to the Redbox game. But I started using it like, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago to rent games that I like was not 100% sure I wanted to buy at $60. And so I ended up using it to play like Marvel Spider-Man for the PS4, which I ended up buying later. And then like I played Assassin's Creed I played Origins and Odyssey through the box. And
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, yeah, I'm not mad. I never bought games through it. I've only ever rented. I paid like $7 for 3 nights and that's it. So for me, it was like a really great resource to just try something.
Right.
It makes me sad because remember Gamefly? That was like a really kind of half-baked idea that I feel like a lot of people had problems with, but the idea of being able to like rent a game to try it without having to put all the money down on like a $60 game if you weren't sure you were going to like it, you know.
And I was going to say, I think Gamefly still exists currently,
It
but
does.
like there are a lot of drawbacks where it's like, okay, I want to rent this game, but it's a really popular game, so I'm not going to get it, or like having to wait for the shipping times back and forth, kind of like how old Netflix used to be. And that just, compared to the simplicity of going to the Redbox, where they generally had a game in your area, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
it's really quite a bummer. I was under the impression they didn't really like put out a press release about this. The best thing I was able to find was a tweet where someone's like, "I can't rent games anymore." And Redbox is like, "We're no longer doing that."
Yeah.
Which seems like a poor way to explain your business model, but whatever. I was in the impression they're no longer going to be selling games. I actually checked this yesterday. You can still buy games if you go to a Redbox and they still have one. So if you want to pick up some cheap stuff, now's the time to do it. I almost bought a copy of Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Oh,
This would have been the only time I would have bought it. It was like $10, and I was like, maybe this is worth it.
I'm such a box purist that I stopped myself from buying a game that I wanted on Redbox because I knew I wouldn't have a box to put on my shelf. And that's how far
Oof.
capitalism has turned me.
That's
God,
understandable, though.
Steelbook Rebecca over here. Only getting those special editions.
Special editions only. My wallet is crying, but my shelves are full.
Amazing. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and jump on to another story. And these are the two meteor ones, and they're kind of tangentially related. The first thing I want to talk about is the Game Awards, which we all watched together. We all kind of gave our live commentary and responses. So we can kind of just do a general overview here. We had a new console shown. We had the Xbox Series X. We saw our first trailers for the next generation of video games. We saw a performance by Grimes, apparently, for some reason.
It's
And
funny.
Green
We
Day.
saw a lot of things.
I actually completely physically erased the memory of the Grimes performance. So when I read it in your notes, I was like, that didn't happen, right? Wait, did that happen? And then I remembered Elon Musk trying to give her a standing O, and he was the only person that stood up. Anyway.
It was like a very weird. I
Yeah.
feel like the musical acts in this show were just not like something I was super interested in.
Nope.
And I feel like they detracted. And
Why?
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 Yeah.
Why would you make a pack for Beat Saber, a game about laser swords, set to Green Day music? Those two things seem completely incongruous to me, and I have a question.
they put toss a coin. Or, I'm sorry, they didn't actually sell it. So it was a fan made thing, but they put toss a coin to your Witcher into Beat Saber, and I was watching that a little earlier.
Oh shit, that may
It's
actually
pretty good.
slap. I want
That
someone to
could
do
be
like an EDM remix on Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, and then you can like go into the Matrix with it, you know what I mean?
I want the drop.
sure
I want
it's
the
out
drop to
there.
speak girl saying,
Yeah.
fuck.
Just here, send me the drop.
Before we get into the Xbox stuff, 'cause that's going to be our other story, spoilers, I think there are some really cool things that happened. Some really not cool things that happened. I was really surprised that Sekiro won
Yes.
the Game
Yeah.
Awards. That was something I don't think
I
any
was
of us
surprised.
called.
I think it was just
Um,
because no one was talking about it. Like it wasn't even. I don't think it was in any other running, was it? Other than maybe like music or something, right?
I think
Well,
I think it was for like action adventure. Like they have those weird categories for like strategy game and then action adventure, which
Right.
feel weird and dated.
totally.
And it was
Well,
just
and
like
it just doesn't seem like something like I could see an outlet giving that game mad props. Like I could see a Polygon or something, but not like a mainstream event like the Game Awards. It just doesn't seem like From would really play there. So I think that's kind of a good sign that things are changing, or at least From's getting its due.
Yeah.
correct. I also feel like maybe it was because there's the whole Kojima was there with Death Stranding, and it's like, well, if I give Kojima Game of the Year for Death Stranding, like, is that favoritism? So I'll give him, what was it that he won? Best Direction or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, he went best.
It was something similar to that.
best direction. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And it was just like, okay.
I feel like anyone seriously considering Death Stranding as the best game of the year is questionable taste, at least in my opinion. as a person who put a lot of time into Death Stranding.
I put it on my top 10 and I didn't feel bad.
I mean, I put it on my top 10 too, but I'm like, there were better. I knew there were better games
There were
out
better
there.
games than that one, yeah.
I thought one weird thing was all of the League of Legends games.
Yes.
Like, there was like, I think
Yeah.
3 projects that were announced.
Were they like a
2 to 3
secret
at least.
sponsor or something? Is that why they got so much airtime?
Maybe Tencent
I feel like
was.
they've could be. I feel like League of Legends is very popular, and I read some of the teasers from before, and they were like, we're going to be showing off one new project, but when in reality they had like 2 to 3, and it seems like they're trying to go on this like press tour to come back from some of the issues they had with workers, with women specifically in the workplace, and like creating a hostile work environment.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's kind of their big push here. Like they showed off their shooter not too long ago, so I think that's maybe part of this.
Yeah, it could be just like a kind of like, oh, we still make games. You remember those? Anyway, here's some other things to put in your news stories that aren't about how awful we are.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, this is hearsay, but I remember hearing from Jeff Gersman talking about his back channels at Riot, creators of League of Legends, saying that they would release small games that they had made under different publisher names and developer names just to test them. And I wonder how many of these projects were released, like other projects were released before then. Like, it really makes me question what they've been doing over there, because they have such a big team. It's like the biggest game in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested.
Totally. I'm not really interested in that world or League of Legends, but hopefully it will be.
Yeah,
Hopefully those projects will be cool.
Yeah.
that's all.
Play Dota instead.
I'll
Dota 2 for everyone. Don't actually play Dota. It sucks.
Oh.
We're gonna get so much fucking hate mail for that. I'm kidding.
It's like
Yo,
impenetrable
fuck
as a
Dota
new
2.
player. Honestly,
On-
like
to
if
be
you
fair-
haven't gotten into Dota 2 now,
Correct.
I don't know if you should bother.
That's
But
why I
it's
haven't
cool
started
here
it.
now.
Or League
So
of
there's
Legends. League of Legends
no
is
longer have
super
to buy
toxic, and yeah,
Yeah.
Dota 2 is it's too much. There's too many. There's too much. There's just too much. It's too much. Sorry.
Speaking of things that are too much,
Mhm.
the Fast and the Furious game was announced.
Oh my
And I don't know if it's too much or if it's too much of a PS2 game. It like that was how they ended the show, was
Yeah.
that they were like, let's bring out, Vin Diesel.
Oh, I
and
see
the
you
other
guys go
lady.
way back since you know him as Vinny D.
Yeah, me and Vinny D, we go way back. And what is her name? The lady.
Oh, Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes, Michelle
Michelle-
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do really like her. I don't know why her brain just like her name left my brain, getting words confused. But that game looks bad. Like that
Yeah.
game looks
Sure.
legitimately
Mm-hmm.
like we've talked, I think, about how we maybe shouldn't prejudge games and how we need to be like kind to new games, but at the same time, like it seems like a very strange choice to finish off the show with that, considering all the other announcements that we got.
If anything, I really hope that like for even just like a really blissful point in time, we can like roll back to like 15 years ago when all we were doing was making really shitty franchise license games. You know what I mean? And that was like flooding the market. I don't know why a part of me craves it. Like this year we're getting the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom remastered version. And so now I'm just like, come on, give it to me. Give me your stupid franchise games. I hope they run like ass. Let's do it. I honestly hope they suck.
Give me those PS2 graphics. I
Yeah.
want them. You need them to nourish your soul.
Yeah. Let's just step back in time 15 years. It's okay.
I really like Fast and the Furious, and I was just almost like, who is this for? Who is making, why would you make this? It just seems very bizarre. And like Vin Diesel seems like Vin Diesel and Jesus Christ, what is her name? I cannot remember.
Michelle
Michelle.
Rodriguez.
Michelle Rodriguez both talked about playing video games. And it seems like a major bummer that their project doesn't look super great.
I'm sorry, what did Michelle Rodriguez, was she talking about Tekken? Didn't she call it Tekken?
Taken? Oh, that was it, yes.
Okay.
I love playing Tekken. And I'm like, was somebody feeding her this line? Like, yes, I too love the Witcher 3 Wild Hoon. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like a line. Oh, it's...
Well, I feel
It's
like
smudged.
I feel like she kind of came on there a little lit, little
A little
tipsy.
They shouldn't have made her go last.
Correct. Yes.
There were a lot of announcements. One other one was The Wolf Among Us 2 was announced. I know I have I really like that series, but there are a lot of concerns about this as like Telltale Games kind of coming back. It's like another organization that's has some of the same employees, but not all the same employees, and like some of those ideas that they originally had may not be used. How do you guys feel about this game?
Not great.
Anything that was previously Telltale and is now facading as Telltale is not good. Just because of the burn from their old employees who are not working on the games they made in the first place. Some of them are, so they've hired back some people, but like for the most part, not great. I never played the first game either, Wolf Among Us. So
I have similar sentiments, and I remember looking at people on Twitter just because I was trying to get a read for like how, and I know Twitter's not the best example, but just kind of like what are people in the Twitter sphere talking about, and a lot of people being like, wow, I thought Telltale shut down, and I think people were a little confused about, people didn't really understand that this was a different entity as Telltale, and I think that's a kind of a problem if you're selling this game and like kind of trading off that name after they've like screwed over their longtime employees and people aren't coming back. So that's a major problem.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, the game looks great. It looks great, but it's just like, bleh, it's not good. So,
yeah, it's problematic. The one last thing I wanted to touch on with the Game Awards was just the format of the show and how a lot of awards were given off screen and how crappy that is. Rebecca, I think you had some thoughts about this. I'd love to hear what you would do.
So the more I've been thinking about it, the more this feels like a bad E3 press conference. You know what I mean? Because like with Ubisoft and some of the other studios, they were turning into like trotting out a celebrity. Here's a weird musical artist that doesn't belong. You know what I mean? And it felt sort of like a little bit of a dog and pony show, which I think maybe for E3 is fine because it's people coming to market with like, spend money on us. Here we go. Hooray. Here's all of our shit, whatever. But for an award ceremony that's supposed to be about, like celebrating the industry, celebrating creators, they gave a bunch of awards out like during commercial breaks. I think they maybe only gave out like 5 awards in person, and that was kind of weird. Like, it just doesn't make sense why you would run a game awards and still give out most of the, like, even the Oscars doesn't do that, and they still give out a ton of awards during the commercial break. You know what I mean? They're always giving it out before like the show starts, but you still see a ton of people be recognized. So I don't know. I think it was in poor taste, Geoff Keighly, but he has money to make, I guess.
I agree, man. I think like it felt worse this year, and I don't know if it's just because like the whole show is grating on me, and I think your point about it being an E3, a bad E3 press conference, but now cloaked in this like pomp and prestige of like, we're the Game Awards, we're like an event, like that is not great if you're spending most of your time on these musical acts.
Yeah.
Right. And it just wasn't something I appreciated. Tyler, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the worst so like maybe there are a few awards that you could be like, okay, yes, not off screen, but like just not in person, give these awards out to like the mobile games or something like that. I know that there are creators still behind those games. But one award thing that was given not in person that should have been absolutely been given in person was the voice acting award, like best voice acting.
That was weird.
Why? And it was just like casually mentioned, like, oh, who won? Oh, it was Norman Reedus, Mads Mikkelsen. It was Mads Mikkelsen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mads,
so
yeah.
and like it's one person. Like you're literally honoring one person. And like, why could you not just have them go on stage for like 5 seconds or whatever and accept the award and like, okay, that's it, like.
Well, and considering the kind of position it was given last year with like the actor of Arthur Morgan, like that was kind of a big deal, I felt like, in terms of what the show was highlighting, and to have it just go away this year just seems not. It felt almost like Mads Mikkelsen just declined to come, so they were like, we're not going to do this award. Like that's what I started thinking, is like, did they just not have the star power to bring someone in there? I don't know.
Possible. Yeah.
Elon Musk is accepting the award on behalf of Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh,
in which case, give it to someone else if they're not going to show up to the award ceremony. Like, I don't know. Who knows?
Well,
Yeah,
it feels absolutely absurd to put Mads Mikkelsen in a category of like mocap people. You know what I mean? No shade to mocap people. You know what I mean? I think the talent in voice acting and in games in general is quite good and very high and gets better every year. But it just feels like, you know what I mean? Like, if we... if Uma Thurman was nominated, like, of course she would win. You know what I mean? Like, if
Right.
some
Right.
crazy Hollywood person was nominated, of course they would win. It just seems like it was such a crazy thing to be like, yes, and the Game Award goes to somebody who's way too good for this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, who has that profile, and it's like kind of hard to compare.
Yeah.
And not
So-
only that, but two actors from Death Stranding, Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen. Like, okay, come on, really, guys?
Norman Reedus was
Norman
like
Reedus didn't deserve to be on
cardboard.
there.
No,
Yeah,
he
it
did
was
not.
not a great fit. Well, goodbye Game Awards. Hello Xbox Series X. It was announced at the Game Awards. There are not a lot of confirmed details for this. We do know that the console is going to be at 4K 60 FPS gameplay. It's supposed to have I believe it's 120 megahertz, 120 hertz display ability, so it can actually like kind of do the G-Sync technology or the FreeSync technology, which seems really cool. And I think one of the other cool things is that it's called the Xbox Series X. That's the new Xbox, but the actual brand name moving forward is just going to be Xbox. And I think we're kind of moving into that cycle of like, let's not have a named box every time. Just be like, this is the Xbox 2019, Xbox 2020. That's kind of what I predict this will move forward as. But I guess thoughts, like, are you guys excited for this thing? Are you going to buy this giant refrigerator looking monster? Not feeling strongly, Rebecca.
I'd say I'm very neutral. I don't know. Like, I want to see more about what the PS5 is doing before I make a decision. But I also feel like all of my games are on the PlayStation right now. All of my friends are on the PlayStation, so I probably would buy a PlayStation 5 just because of that cycle. But I bought a Xbox midway through the console cycle, and if they decide to come out with if they're doing that tiered model, you know what I mean? Like, if they're going the way of Apple, where it's like, here's the low tier, mid tier, high tier, then maybe it's going to be a little bit more consumer friendly. If it was just like, hey, I just want to have a box to play Game Pass games.
Totally.
Right.
And I think there is a rumor going around right now that it could have 2 or even 3 SKUs of like, hey, here's our diskless one, here's our low-powered one, here's our high-powered one.
Yeah.
So I think if we can get a high range of, or a wide range of prices, that would be useful for them. And I think, I think as a person who picked it up later, having this as just like my Game Pass machine has been a pretty good investment.
Yeah, totally.
Tyler, you PC game, you have a pretty powerful PC.
I
Do you
PC
think you'll pick
game.
this up?
So, I don't know. That's the thing, because if I have my PC game or my PC like built, and the only thing it needs to upgrade is the graphics card, and like it's good to go. So if my graphics card is as much as the console, do I really need the console itself? Because I have Game Pass, and like that's pretty much all I use it for, and like that's
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it seems like Microsoft's kind of moving this more like services-based company, and I think that like the pitch of you don't have to have this console to play all the games is really like, it's not a mark against them, because I think that's really consumer friendly, and people will buy more games and play more games, but it does kind of make the console seem almost irrelevant.
Right. What I will say is that I'm leaning, of all the Xboxes that have been released, I am kind of leaning towards this one a little bit more, because it is a little more like compact and almost portable in a sense, to where it's not like a huge like box machine from like the ancient days of when we had television and stuff. And now it's like more just like a little compact box that you just plug in and whatever, you're good to go, so that appeals to me a lot.
Right.
Whereas what the Sony is so far looking like, the rumors and everything around it, that looks like I don't know what direction they're going in, but it's not the direction that Microsoft is going in. They're going for big and boxy still.
I think the big boxy one on the market right now is the dev kit of the PlayStation.
Oh, is it the
one
dev
that looks
kit?
like a spaceship?
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
That's white. It looks like a spaceship. That's a PS5 dev kit.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So generally speaking, their dev kits have always been ugly monsters. So I'm hoping that means that they will have a very nice, sleek consumer product.
I mean, if it's gonna be a big
we would hope.
spaceship, I'll accept it, because it's gonna
I'll ride it into space, Sony. Let's go PS5. Woo!
correct. But yeah,
Well, considering how big this thing is, like I would be surprised if Sony's box is bigger. And I think with all the Red Ring issues they've had in the past, like they seem like they're really focused on having consoles that do not overheat and break, as evidenced by how big that original Xbox One was. So let's see. The last thing I wanted to talk about was Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga. Or Senua's Saga, yeah, I believe that's the name. And Rebecca, I know you kind of had a relationship with that game series. And it didn't really, I didn't play the game. The general vibe I've been getting from the internet is that, hey, did this game really need a sequel? I'm not sure where do you fall on this?
I was surprised. I'm not against it. I'm going to put that out there. But I was surprised because, and Tyler, you may feel this way too, I felt like Senua's Sacrifice was a pretty contained experience. You know what I mean? Like, it delivers a kind of start to finish story, which I think was, everything about it was great. It was well designed. I think some of the combat was like, but it's okay, because that wasn't really the best part anyway. And so I will say that the direction that I feel like they are portraying her as is like this sort of like warrior woman does kind of, I feel like it doesn't quite jive with maybe where we left her in the previous game, but I don't know. Maybe it's a red herring. Maybe this means something else. Maybe she's possessed. I don't know. She went to fucking Hades and like punched death in the face. So, who am I to say, right?
Right. It seems like just a very, I don't want to say different tone, but just a kind of stranger tone where it's like, hey, the first game, I think most of those monsters that you had seen were kind of like figments of her imagination or figments of her mind. Whereas in this game, it's like, no, we actually do have giants now. That's a thing that's going to happen.
Right.
So I don't know. I didn't play the original game, but I guess we'll see what happens.
I'm more concerned about the direction they'll take the mental health issues, because that was a huge part of the game. Than the first game, I mean. And so now I'm wondering where that will go, because like Rebecca mentioned, this comes off as more actiony and like slash and loot, a Schluter, if you will.
Hellblade Senua's Schluter.
Yes. So like I'm just curious to see where this takes it, because if they are going to follow, if it's going to be Senua and not some other like spin-off of Senua, it's going to have to deal with her mental health in some way. And if it's the same as it was in the first game, I mean, fine. But I feel like, she went on her journey already. Not that her mental health is like gone or healed or whatever, but like it's something she still has to deal with. So I don't know how that's going to present itself. And normally video games don't handle mental health very well. So
sure. Yeah. I feel like in the past, they've done a really good job, you know what I mean? Which gives me some faith. But I would say that one thing that I do worry about is anytime where depictions of mental illness lead to a person then being like, I'm going to commit crimes, because that's not how that works. And I think that that's a very bad association to make. And so I do have a sense of fear about like, okay, well, we're going to take this character who like hears voices and has like she is schizophrenic basically, and then be like, she's crazy now because she's going to murder. What's she going to do now? You know what I mean? And I think that's like, that would be the worst thing that they could do. So I'm hoping they don't do that.
For some reason,
fingers crossed.
It feels to me like Dead Space 1 versus Dead Space 2, where Dead Space 1, like, not that Isaac had mental issues, but he was hearing voices. He was going crazy in a sense, because weird stuff was going on in that game. And then Dead Space 2 came around and it was totally like, oh my gosh, he's clinically insane, and like, whoa, what's going on? And it's just like, okay.
Yeah, like it was a little understated in the first game, and now it's just like in your face, crazy,
Correct.
like blah, losing your mind, which isn't a great look.
Right.
Any final thoughts on the Xbox Series X announcement or anything about it?
I will say that, so like Sony had a conference the other night where they announced the new logo for the PS5, and like everybody's out here clowning on them, but it's like, you have never been confused about what the name of their product is.
Correct.
Ever.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Microsoft is finally gonna do it, and I hope they're not gonna do that stupid Apple thing where there's like, oh, we have an 8, an X, and then an 11, because that's not how we count, Microsoft.
Right.
And Microsoft is not known for being good at counting. They count bad.
They did just jump right to Windows 10. We skipped over Windows 9. No more of that.
Yeah.
And I hope this isn't like I was really annoyed by like how Nintendo did the new 3DS, because then it was like very confusing about how do you get the right 3DS. So
you want new Nintendo 3DS.
You want the new Xbox Series XXX. You want the Xbox Series X to the third squared. So hopefully that's not the case.
Why can't it just be Xbox 4?
I wish it was that, but it's gonna be
Xbox 4.
I'm really anticipating and waiting for Xbox XXX underscore Xbox underscore XXX.
Does the Xbox come with an AIM account?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, I think that's a news recap for the last month. Thank you both for your time. Tyler, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Twitter on World Jumpin'.
Rebecca, where can people find you?
You can find me at Rebecca Faye on Twitter. What about you, Olivia?
And you can find me at LivJQ on Twitter, and we are all part of Greetings From. You can go to greetingsfrom.zone and read a few of our articles, listen to other podcasts that we've got going on. You can go to, we're on Twitter and Twitch at Greetings From PC, and on Facebook on Greetings From Cast. The podcast is available on iTunes, Google Podcasts, I think is what they've renamed it now, or anywhere else you can get your podcasts. And thank you so much for listening, and make sure you toss a coin to your Witcher.
Hey gamers, that was it. That was the podcast. Thank you for listening. Our intro and outro song is in an edited version of Deep Fried Space Food by Substitute Sandwiches. You can find a link to the song, plus links to everything else we talked about this week, in the podcast description. Please visit us at greetingsfromcast.zone to listen to more episodes, or find out more about your hosts and catch up on our blog. You can also follow us on Twitch and Twitter at greetingsfrompc. Send your questions, messages, or rants about every food being a sandwich to greetingsfrom@gmail.com. Or you can call us on our hotline at 347-642-6377. Bad with phone numbers like me? Just remember to dial FIRM GAMERS and you'll reach us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.